and why Mastodon and the Fediverse is a possible solution to that. First of all, I'm going to talk about what is current social media, like Facebook and Instagram, and what is wrong with it. Then I'm going to explain a little bit how the different approaches, like the Fediverse and stuff. If we have time, I'm going to talk about how to get started on Mastodon. And then at last, another important aspect is like, yeah, what if someone is annoying? What if something goes wrong? What if you're being flooded by spam? How can one deal with that on the network? And there are good solutions to that as well. So, what are social media? Anyone in the room ever heard about social media? So, a few examples, just in case that somebody never heard about social media before. Those people still exist. So this is an example. This is Twitter. You can post small status updates with some links and some pictures. You can follow user accounts. This is LinkedIn. It's a bit similar, but then it's more geared towards companies. Pinterest is geared towards pictures. It's a bit similar to Instagram. But the bottom line is, for the sake of this presentation, I'm going to define social media as an app or a website or something like that, where you can create a user account, you can share content on that user account, be it pictures or text messages or music or still something else, and then other people will see the content that you produce based on if they are connected to you or not, or if they are connected via an intermediary, or you might be interesting. And of course, you can see content of people you follow. You can discuss about this definition. I'm not going to discuss about it now. Social media differs from conventional mass media, like newspapers and television, where everyone who tunes in to a TV channel sees precisely the same content. So that's a big difference between it. Now, how do these social media, those conventional social media work on a technical level? Yeah, again, there is one big computer. That computer is called Facebook, or that computer is called Twitter. People log into that computer. They create an account there. That can be up to millions or even billions of people. And then it's the computer which gathers all the content, and they decide which content they give to which user. So, for example, Wouter might have posted something, and it's a central computer that decides if Edward, Sophie, or Miep get to see the post by Wouter or if they don't. And it decides that based on is Miep following Wouter or not, or some other factors. Now, commercial social media, of course, Facebook for a user is free to use. Instagram is free to create an account and post content. Twitter is free to produce content, but developing something like that is not free. Running those computers is not free. So where does the money come from? Anyone? Come. Data, and more specifically, advertising. There we go. So all these companies make their money from advertising, because within the content they mix in sponsored content, and of course the data, they use the data to know, oh, that person is interested in sports cars, so we're going to give them advertisements about sports car. And that person is interested in computers, so we're going to give him advertisements for electronics. And then, yeah, people just submit the data. Now, follow the money? What's the money on that? So the Blue product, as it's called within Meta Incorporated, it pays quite well. Where did I put the laser pointer? Yeah. So this is their total revenue in 2021. That is $60 billion. Not million, billion. That's all the money they got in. And from that $60 billion, about $40 billion was pure profit. So they have an operational cost of about $20 billion, and then the monthly active user accounts is like close to 3 billion, knowing that there's about 8 billion people. Yeah, that's about 1/3 of the global population which has a Facebook account. That's mind-bogglingly many.
Active Facebook accounts.
An active Facebook account, yeah, true. But again, quite some of those accounts will probably be bot accounts. Quite a few will be company accounts. So not every account there represents an actual human. But there are at least 1 billion humans using Facebook. Now, one of the very fun things is that since Trump got elected, and it was quite controversial, Facebook had to open up the data about how much they make from political ads. And you can download it there. This was actually one of the easiest things to do in my entire research. I got to this link in like 2 minutes, and I got the data in about another minute. And then it was a nice Excel sheet, and I could just parse it. So I did a little research. In Flanders, which are the top 3 parties to spend money on Facebook advertisements, and how much did they spend since 2019? Is there someone who wants to make a guess? Anyone?
NVA.
Uh-huh.
Vlaams Belang.
Uh-huh. All right. And for the third position, anyone who wants to make a guess? No? I think you read the news article about it? Or is this just...
Yeah, it's general knowledge that those 2 parties at least spend a lot of money.
Indeed. So the leader is NVA. They spent more than €5 million on Facebook advertisement. Followed closely by Vlaams Belang with 4.4 million or something like that. And then the third place goes to P van de A, which is close to 2 million. So in just 3 or 4 years' time, those political parties alone spent more than 10 million on Facebook advertisements. So that's where our tax money goes to. And then, of course, the other parties did some Facebook advertisements as well. Groen close to 1 million, and then CD&V, Vooruit, and PTB, they were all about 500,000 or something like that. So, yeah, it adds up. Now, this is not enough for Mark Zuckerberg. He did a very active pursuit of all the other communication applications. One of them was WhatsApp. WhatsApp was bought by now Meta. It was called Facebook Incorporated back then. They paid a whopping $20 billion for that in 2014. And even though WhatsApp is a messenger, it still has a total profit of about $300 million annually. That's mostly through their business model. And there as well, more than 2 billion active users monthly. So that's also a humongous amount. WhatsApp wasn't enough as well for the hunger of Mark, so Instagram was bought by Facebook as well. It was bought for only 1 billion, about 10 years ago. And that was quite a good investment, because now it has like an annual profit of 26 billion. So, yeah. Even though that this one, it actually grosses quite a lot, because these only have 1 billion active user accounts. By the way, you don't have to believe me, I always mention the sources in the slide. So yeah, How did Mark Zuckerberg get there with his platforms? He employed quite a bit of tactics for growth hacking. So psychological tricks to get people to scroll more, to engage more, to open Facebook more. One of those tricks is, for example, more and more aggressive content, but also infinite scroll. If the content keeps on coming, you just keep on scrolling. Whereas if you have an application and after 100 posts it's like load a new page, then people will have the reflex of, oh, I have scrolled 100 posts, it's the new page, it's a good point to stop scrolling. So that's one of the small tricks. Another trick, of course, is notifications. Notifications all day long, like that person has liked your post, that person has sent you a message, that person has sent a like on your message, and then this triggers someone to open up Facebook again, to start scrolling again, and there you go, seeing advertisements again. Another trick that's employed by Snapchat and by many mobile games is streaks. You have a streak of a daily message with someone or a daily adventure you have to do, so stuff like that. And then at last, everything in Facebook is designed to send a stimuli back to the other person. For example, a messenger application like Signal or like Matrix, when a message comes in your notifications, you'll often have two options. The first option is reply. The other option is mark read, like I've read it and I can ignore it for now. That's not the case with Facebook Messenger. With Facebook Messenger, if a message pops up, you have two options. You have reply or you have like. So both of these options will send something back to the other person, which will result in a notification, which will invite the other person to again open up Facebook and again start scrolling. So these are all little tricks, together with, of course, their massive network of people. Now, another one, which is a very good indication, is, of course, the emojis. Like, how do people react, how do people feel with a certain piece of content? And especially the angry emoji is a very important signal. Research has shown, I don't think I've linked that research, but research has shown that misinformation consistently has more angry reactions than like reactions. So those angry reactions are a very good signal to discover misinformation. Yet, for years and years, the angry was a boost just as powerful as like, 5 times as powerful as a like, and just as powerful as a heart or surprised or other emoji. So this means that posts which gathered a lot of angry emojis were promoted just as much as many other posts, and as misinformation often gathers lots and lots of "this makes me angry" emojis, this kind of posts soared throughout Facebook, and were very hard to mitigate. So, yeah, Facebook actively became an engine of misinformation. I have to admit, they stopped doing that in around 2021, I think, but even then, it's been on there for years, and it's done a lot of damage. So this is an excerpt of the article I've shown the headline of. So basically, yeah, I'm just gonna let you read it. So yeah. So, what are the effects of such a system on our society and on us as human beings? It makes us unhappy. It makes us angry. This has huge implications of how we moderate this thing, and this gives rise to manipulation, and in the end it also spreads hate. It spreads hate, which results in genocide. So, fear of missing out is real. Social media increases depression. I have found some statistics on that. So this is a very important indication of happiness is how much you meet your friends, especially on teens. This has a profound effect. And then you see that meeting your teens, at least in US, meeting your teen friends while in high school, it is relatively common. So about 50% of the people have daily hangouts with some of their friends. And then here, it starts dropping. This is where the automobile took over into the streets of the US. So people got more isolated because they started living out more spread it, but I could do an entire talk about just the impact of cars on our society. And then here, suddenly, it starts dropping around 2008, 2009. And then we see that teens, they don't hang out anymore. Only about a quarter of teens sees their friend daily, which is half of what was before. Why is that? Because everyone is on Facebook. And this is a reverse graph. These are indicators of poor mental health among US girls and young women. The effect is most profound in this category. For boys of that age category, it's a similar graph, but not as high. But here as well, you see that there are some ups and downs. And then here, around 2010, you see a sudden spike of various indicators. So we see way more suicide attempts, we see way more major depressive episodes, we see way more unhealthy behavior. And why is that? Again, unhealthy social media. People are more on their phones, they're less connected physically. Also, Instagram is a huge pit of toxicity, like how to present yourself. Suddenly you have to be a model and a princess 24/7, whereas you can't deconnect from that. I'm not gonna get into detail. If you are interested, this is a meta-study here. It's also where I found the graph. And they did study hundreds of papers, and they bundled all the results, and they conclusively say social media, like it is today, is a problem for mental health. Now, Facebook themselves have done similar research. So in 2012, so that's also 11 years ago, they did deliberately skew Facebook feeds of some testing persons. And for 700,000 Facebook users, they changed the algorithms. And for some of those users, they posted they've shown mostly posts with happy keywords. For another group, they've shown mostly posts with a negative keyword, like sad or crying or depression or something like that. And then for a control group, they just let the feed as it was before. And then they saw that about 2% of there's no percentages given, but the users who saw a manipulated feed, they would post either a happier or a more depressive post those days that they were in this experiment. Of course, people did not know they were in this experiment because ethics are overrated. And then they repeated this experiment, but this time for the elections in 2012. These were the elections of Obama versus McCain, if I'm not mistaken. But in either way, it's not very relevant. There as well, 600,000 users received a message about the election on election day. The majority of it received a social message like, hey, of your friends, this person and this person and this person, with a nice profile picture, they went and they voted. Then a control group of 1%, oh no, this is the control group of 1%, received an informational message, a very dry message. Hey, there are elections today, and then a button to say if you went out and voted. And then the remainder, a 1% control group, they did not get any message. But then here, 60 million users did receive a message of these of your friends have gone and voted, and then you could say if you voted as well. And the results were very clear. The people who saw the message that some of their friends, and which friends they were, had gone and voted, they were 2% more likely to go out and cast their vote. And this is research by Facebook themselves. Facebook says that by doing this, about 60,000 persons more went to vote than they would have done otherwise. Now, of course, Facebook knows your political preference, especially in the US, where it's either Republican or Democrat. But if Facebook knows your political preference and they can steer election behavior, yeah, that puts quite a bit of question marks with our current system of democracy. And then, of course, some political parties have gotten the message, and they spread anti-current policy. So that's quite a problem. Now, another problem is, of course, how do you get unwanted content from the Facebook platform? Of course, you need people to make judgments, like this is unwanted, this is allowed. There are many gray lines. Paying someone to make these decisions is expensive. So what do companies like Facebook or TikTok or Instagram do? They contract people in low-wage countries like Africa or East Asia. And then you suddenly get that African people have to moderate stuff like suicide, animal cruelty, child abuse. They suddenly have to review that for us, the rich European, for a very low hourly rate. So, yeah, that's one of the effects that we don't think about. Another thing is that, as I mentioned earlier, Facebook and other social media are machines which actively spread hate and actively spread misinformation because it gets a lot of engagement. Yay, and engagement is good, but because that drives advertisement revenue. And the military in Myanmar understood that very well. And the military in Myanmar, they actively spread false stories. False stories about how some Rohingya Muslim did rape an old woman, or how the Rohingya Muslim did steal stuff and this and that. All those stories were fake. They just set up a misinformation campaign, a hate campaign against the Rohingya Muslim minority in Myanmar. And that campaign was sadly quite effective because in 2017, because of the hate campaign, they had the freedom to do an ethnic cleansing, like they call it, a true genocide. And about 10,000 Rohingya Muslims got killed. I'm not saying that this is 100% attributable to Facebook, but Facebook was definitely a tool that was used in this campaign. So yeah, Facebook is a toxic, poisonous product, as many other social media. Another very important thing to think about is, what if in 10 years' time the Belgian Trump or a European Trump gets in power and they read all your messages, even from 20 years back? Or what if they ban you for your ideological ideas or your activism, or just because they don't like you? How will you still communicate with friends? How will you still reach your audience? Also very important is just being connected with people on Facebook gives a strong hint about who you are. If I'm connected, if I'm friends with many people from the hackerspace community, Facebook can can imply that I'm probably connected with the hackerspace community and that I know a lot about computers, even if I never posted something on Facebook. If I connected with a lot of people from the gay community, Facebook probably knows that I'm gay as well, or I'm queer or something. If I connect with lots of activists, climate activists, or if I connect with a lot of right-wing people, just the fact that you're connected to someone already tells something about you. But can we do better? Can we do without these companies, just humans between us? And the answer to that is yes. Any ideas? No? I need a bigger crowd for having questions. So, what if we have someone like, say, Ilya, and they know a bit about computers, and they set up a small Twitter for himself and for their friends. And that's nice, and they can exchange some status updates. And then a bit later, Anna comes around, and she knows a bit about computers as well, and she does similar. She sets up a small Twitter for her and her friends, and because she knows her friends, she knows it'll be all right. And if one of the friends misbehaves and posts something inappropriate, Anna can say to that friend, like, hey, what's up with that? Please don't do that, or I'm gonna have to kick you out. And that's nice, but of course, this person here, they might now hear this friend of Anna, and this person here might want to see status updates from this friend. And as it turns out, yeah, that's kind of possible. So, Anna and Ilya, they agree to exchange status updates between them. And that's pretty cool. But then, Jos comes around. And Jos kind of like the mini Twitter, but Jos prefers a picture-based thing. So Jos sets up a mini Instagram. And it looks a bit different. Images are placed more prominently than the text messages. And it looks a bit different, but in essence, it's more or less the same. So, as it turns out, the mini Twitter and the mini Instagram are compatible, and they can connect with each other as well. And then, what you have is what we today call the Fediverse. You might have heard about it, but Mastodon has become pretty big in it. There's also PixelFed, there's Mobilizon, there's Bookworm, there's a podcasting, and then they all kind of work together. Sometimes there's a few rough edges. Mastodon especially has become popular since some billionaire bought Twitter and is mismanaging it really great. Mastodon is popular due to that. What does Mastodon look like? A bit like most conventional media. Here in your home you see messages of people you follow. You can post a message, you have some notifications. So if you got mentioned or if you got a favorite on your tweets, you see it there. Local are all the tweets of the mini Twitter that you have an account on. And then the federated are all the messages, all the tweets that arrive on your server. So for example, I'm on a server, my friend Anna is on the same server, my friend Anna follows Jos on another server, Jos posts something, it gets sent to our server due to Anna, it will also show up in the federated tab. It's basically a good way of reading what the hive mind of your community is getting. It's a good way of discovering new people. I've seen that. So this is a profile page, so you have the username. You can see its username at some website. That's very similar to email. That's like having an email address, but then it's a Mastodon address. You can click follow to follow that person. You can click the little bell icon if you think, oh, this is a really important person, I always want to see the status messages about this person, then you click this one and you will get a notification from that person. So, how do you get started with it? It's a bit difficult. There are thousands of servers, all with their own topic. So the first thing you have to do is do a bit of research. Where do you feel at home? Where are interesting people? And then once you've chosen a server and you agree to the rules, you create an account on it. Pick a server between 100 and 1,000 people, unless you know a server admin you trust, and then that's even better. And then the next step is follow people. Try to follow about 100 people right off the bat, because if you're only going to follow 10 and they only post something every now and then, you're only going to see one message a day, and then it's going to be a boring thing. So while you search servers, keep tabs of interesting servers so that you can follow people. And then it's all a bunch of humans. It's a really nice place to be. Write an introduction message, send a message, get in touch with people. It's just you and the other people, no company in between that spies on you. So this is really nice. If you want to search a server, there are 2 websites which have a listing of thousands of servers. Go and have a look there. I'm already gonna light out a few servers. So we have a few generic servers for Belgium. It's like everyone is welcome. It's somewhat Belgium focused, but not too much. There are a few servers about urbanism, about transportation. Again, these are things that are interesting to me, so I discovered those. There might be servers interesting for others. There are many activism-related servers where you can go and find interesting people. There are many open source and technology server. There's also servers about other topics. So, for example, there's one here about comics and art. There's one for gay programmers, basically. There's one for veganists. There's one for birds, people who like to watch birds. There's one for independent book authors. There's one for people with a disability or people who take care from someone with a disability. And there are even official servers. So this one is run by the European Union. And to create an account there, you have to be a European instance. So over there you will find official communication from official European instances. Of course, you cannot create an account there. So some servers are closed. They do not take new people. For others, you can just sign up, and then there are a few where you have to write a motivation message like, hey, I'd like to join your server because this or that. And then there's a human who's going to approve whether you're welcome or not. Who here has a Twitter account? 3 persons. There are a few things to make migration easier. These are websites that let you find your Twitter, the people you follow on Twitter. It lets you find them on Mastodon. I don't know if they work yet, if they still work, because Twitter closed down their APIs. Same here. I don't know if it still works, but there are many services which, if you post something to Twitter, it will post to Mastodon and vice versa. Another really cool feature about Mastodon is how to prove if you are really who you say you are. If you have a website, you post a link like this to your Mastodon profile, with then here the link to your Mastodon, and then when you can set it in your profile, like, oh, this is my official website, or this is my blog, and then Mastodon will fetch your website, it will download it, it will see this link, it will say, oh, that's really this person, and then you can verify who you are. Another quick mention, people using Firefox and maybe also Chrome, FediAct makes it easier to follow along multiple instances. And if you are in search for a good application, there's an official application. I'm using Tusky as it's really useful. I'm gonna check the time. So officially I still have about 3 minutes.
I think there's also a class for the next one.
Yeah, but so either I'm gonna stick around and I'm gonna get you helped with starting,
Be
otherwise.
done by 4. Be done by 4.
Okay, maybe we can do that, or otherwise I can explain how moderation works on Mastodon. Like, what if someone is harassing you? How does the Mastodon network deal with it? Are there any preferences?
The setup. The setup.
The setup, yeah, but okay.
That takes a long time.
Yeah, it's just get out your phones, search a server, and I'll give some hints. But maybe that's better for the bar afterwards.
So then the other one.
Yeah, maybe the other one. Okay, no choice. So, no trolls allowed. What do we do if someone is being a dick? So, for example, you have some misogynist, a human trafficker, and they are harassing a activist girl on Twitter. So you might have seen this tweet. So Andrew Tate, he was arrested by now for human trafficking, and he was boasting about his sports cars and that they don't use that much gasoline, and he was harassing Greta Thunberg with this. So, yeah, anyone who's got an opinion on that? How do you feel about this reaction?
Love it.
You love it. And why do you love it?
It's also so ironic and
Yeah, it's ironic.
it's great.
It is really funny. I have to admit that. When I first saw the tweet, I also thought, haha, good own, very funny. But in the end, if you think a bit more about it, this is actually very counterproductive. First of all, this is a form of body shaming, and if it were if it were a bar at night and this was in real life, I would just laugh it off and think it's really funny. But even then, Greta is a very public personality. She has to set an example. But even besides the body shaming, there's a way bigger problem with this. Andrew Tate is an influencer. He lives off attention and he spreads very misogynistic ideas, especially to teen boys, and he explains to teen boys that women, they are pieces of garbage and they should do the dishes and they're only good to fuck and drop out of school because you're gonna get rich by drop shipping and by crypto investments anyway, so school is overrated. These are the kind of ideas that he is spreading. And because of Greta Thunberg, this got a lot of media attention. This tweet got headlines all around the world, exposing Andrew Tate to even more people worldwide. So right now, every teen boy is aware of Andrew Tate, and that, and everyone who thinks that Greta Thunberg is a sucker because she's some stupid climate activist, they have heard about Andrew Tate now, and it grew Andrew Tate's influence. So don't do stuff like this. Instead, if someone is harassing you with hate speech, do not react with it. As soon as you think that it's a bad faith attempt to just spread hate, don't debate it, silence it. Simply report it to the moderation team. Block them, report them to the admin of your Mastodon server, and they will block that person for everyone else, so the problem of harassment is fixed for everyone of your server. Now, if the person harassing you is from a different Mastodon server, you can also report it to the other Mastodon server, and they will hopefully block the person. But in some cases, someone sets up a server and they forget about it. It's still running, but they don't follow up on the reports. And one of the servers, it becomes a toxic pool of spam and harassment. How can Mastodon react to that? Well, the healthy servers, they can say, oh, this has become a toxic pool. We're just not going to exchange messages with them anymore. We're going to block everything that's coming from them, or we're going to ignore them. And this way, servers which are overrun by spam, they just get defederated by the entire network, and nobody has to deal with it anymore. Another cool use case of this is, for example, if you have a server for one soccer club and a server for another soccer club, and they get in clinch with each other continually online, they can just block each other because to avoid all the conflict, but they would still be able to interact with the local, the Mastodon.Vlaanderen or the other instances. So this is also a way of dealing with this conflict. And as it turns out, this works. This actively isolates the people who are harassing people, who are harassing trans people, who are harassing queer people, because if they cannot harass people together, yeah, those alliances of trolling people, they fall apart, they get lonely, and they have to conform more, which is actually a really nice answer to all the toxicity of Facebook and stuff. At last, consider that you joined the server, and it's been fun for a few years, but after a few years, the admin or the moderation teams, yeah, they burn out, their lives have moved on, and there's a lot of spam on your server. In that case, you can move. You can pack your followers, you can pack who is following you, and you can say, oh, I'm now hosted at that server, and then you can somewhat easily make the move and move to a healthier server. So, that's the big lines of how Mastodon keeps healthy. I'm still waiting for an answer from Noster how to deal with all these things. There's a few more than just Twitter clones. We have a Meetup clone as well. It's Mobilizon. We have a Instagram clone, we have a YouTube clone, and we have a Reddit clone. They all work together. So, for example, if you follow someone on the Instagram clone, you can do that from your Mastodon account, or you can follow someone from the Mastodon account, from a PeerTube account on Mastodon or on PixelFed. So it doesn't really matter. Just pick whatever you want, and you can follow all around. So this is PixelFed. As I said, a clone of Instagram, but you can, from Mastodon, for example, I can follow this person, and then I will see their pictures. There's also an event Meetup clone. I have to admit, it's very beta. There are quite a few bugs in there. It's not very user-friendly, but it's usable. So it would be nice if, for example, Hackerspaces started to publish their events on that, because then you can tie up all the events together. Still many bugs, but they have really cute artwork. So yeah, that's about it. Toot, come on, send out the toot. I have some links for people who want more. And then I'm 5 minutes over time. I still have time for questions. No one? Yeah.
When you follow someone from the Twitter clone, you follow someone on the PeerTube clone, is the UI for the app, does it allow you to watch the content of the people on the PeerTube?
It should be, yes. Yeah. So you should be able to see the video, or at least, if it's not possible, you will get a link like watch it here, and then you will open it in your browser. So that's often the baseline, but there's many types of messages getting posted in the Fediverse network, and some clients cannot deal with some of the messages, but then often there's a common fallback, which is plain old HTML.
Is this available somewhere?
I should still post them online, but I'll send them to Newline. And I think that you will be able to see it on YouTube from in an hour or 2 hours or something.
So what is the question?
If the slides are available.
Oh, yeah,
But-
you could actually put it under the video if you want to.
Yeah, we will do that. So yeah,
So is there like a way to direct message?
yes.
So like could normies use it as a WhatsApp? Is actually the real question.
Yeah, it's not really a WhatsApp replacement, so it's more like I want to send someone a message. In Mastodon, it's actually just a tweet which is only visible to the person which is mentioned. So, for example, if we are telling gossip about someone, and then someone types, "Oh, at this person," and then he gets mentioned, and then suddenly he will be able to read that message as well. For a WhatsApp replacement, I think that the Matrix protocol with the Element or one of the other clients is the best bet.
And that is linked in the whole
No,
Fediverse?
there are bridges, but they are separate universes. So the Fediverse grew, I think they started around 2012 or 2014. And Matrix started at the same time as a continuation of the Signal protocol. Matrix is federated as well. You can also choose your client, but it works totally different. There might be a messenger replacement for this one day, but I think that Activitypub, the underlying protocol, is going to be too slow for that. But Matrix is really, really great as well.
Matrix.
Yeah. All right. So that's it. If people are convinced, who does have a Fediverse or a Mastodon account? Okay, 2 people. Who is planning on making one? 2 people. If you want, I can go to the bar and I can help you choose a server or hint you some interesting profiles.
Question. Because I have, I used to have, still have a long time Twitter account. I'm, one of the challenges, of course, is with some new social media thing is that, I want to go there, but none of the people I know or friends are there, so it's kind of like shouting in the void.
Yeah.
Is there are there these days tools to?
Yes. I think you only came in later, right?
Yes, it is, yeah. Oh, was it already said?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I'm gonna scroll back. So you have, I don't know if they're still working, because the APIs got shut down by Twitter.
Yeah.
So it is a bet. You should just try it. These are the serverless. So there are a few websites out there where you can log in with your Twitter and then say, "Oh, you're following this person. He's called that on Mastodon." Again, it might be broken. And then second, there are many cross-posting services. If you post on one, you will automatically post on the other. And there are even a few services where you can enter a Twitter handle, and then it will download that Twitter person, and it will follow that Twitter person, and it will translate it to Mastodon, even if they don't have a Mastodon. Also, I wrote down a few Mastodon handles on the whiteboard. For me, of course, from the hackerspace. Feel free to add your Mastodon handles there. And then you have also already a few to follow. Many hackerspaces have a Mastodon on chaos.social. And then go through who they are following. And then you'll probably see some people there, Especially in tech circles, it's become quite well embedded. And in queer and gay circles, also a little bit, because on Twitter there was a lot of harassment. Fun fact, Mastodon, a lot of the people developing Mastodon are trans people, transgender people, and they specifically did not implement a few features, such as global search. And why is that? On Twitter, if trans people were talking about, for example, hormone therapy or testosterone, then right-wing trolls, they would just search Twitter for hormone therapy, and they would start bashing on those people. So they specifically chose not to have global search to avoid this problem. So if people want to just communicate to their followers, that's fine. Of course, people still want to search for relevant items. For example, if I search for OpenStreetMap, I would like to see some posts popping up, and for that there are the hashtags. So if you add hashtag OpenStreetMap, then it will be discoverable and people will be able to find your tweet via the search function. So, and at last, of course, you're never going to have a full picture of the full network. You're always going to have a picture just of the server that you are on and the tweets that server knows about. So yeah.
Do you only get messages from other servers when you follow someone in that server?
Yes.
Can you follow the server as a whole?
No, but the servers often have a web page. Normally they have a web page. And then you can go to the web page of that server and then you can see, explore the local tweets. And then you can see everything that's posted by the local people. And then you can go, oh, that's an interesting person, I'm going to follow them. That's an interesting person, I'm going to follow them. So you can really go shopping and get interesting people from interesting servers all around.
Nice, thanks.
All right. I'm going to move to the bar. So if people want to get started, I'm still here for at least an hour to help you choose where to get started. For you, I already think where you're going to end up.